My name is Alexa Sharp. Here's my student ID. This is my persuasive speech. Here's my audience. When was the last time you looked at social media and thought worse about yourself? Chances are it probably wasn't that long ago. Now think about how that experience might feel to someone who hasn't quite figured themselves out yet. Consider the 16-year-old girl who lies awake at night, tears streaming down her face because she's on Instagram comparing herself to edited pictures of influencers. Or the 14-year-old boy refreshing his notifications only to see another damaging comment about how he didn't make the football team. These are the moments that will linger in these children's minds for way longer than they should. These experiences are happening daily to more and more of our youth all over the world, which is why I believe my audience should hear about this topic. Social media is pushed in society as fun and entertaining. However, there is a dark side that is growing at an alarming rate. I know this because I once was one of these kids, doubting my self-worth because of what I saw online. I have seen and felt all the negatives of social media firsthand. At the end of my speech, I want my audience to agree with me that social media has a detrimental effect on the mental health of our youth. First, I'd like to discuss the growing mental health crisis among our youth and how social media is a major contributor. Next, I'll demonstrate the ways in which social media platforms are designed to become addictive and damaging to the mind. Finally, I will suggest actions we can take to combat the detrimental effects of social media on our youth's mental health. I would like to provide a forewarning here for sensitive material, as I will be sharing upsetting data concerning mental health in adolescents. In 2023, the CDC found that 4 in 10 students had persistent feelings of hopelessness or depression. Nearly 1 in 10 students attempted suicide. Additionally, when adolescents aged 13 to 17 were asked how social media made them feel, the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services reported that 46% of them responded that it made them feel worse. These statistics should alarm you. These numbers represent children who are crying silently in their bedrooms, pretending to be okay, but wondering why they feel so alone. These are the children who make up our next generation that we as adults have the responsibility of protecting. I can vividly recall memories of sobbing to my best friend in high school because I felt depressed and hopeless. What I didn't realize was that the time I spent on social media started to swallow the time that I spent with my own community. I was surrounded by people online, but felt more alone than ever. I hoped that a like or comment would validate me, but instead I felt emptier. Social media has a way of pushing individuals, especially our youth, to chase validation through likes and filters instead of building meaningful relationships amongst themselves. Here's the most disturbing part. Poor mental health amongst our youth isn't just a side effect of modern technology, it's intentional. Social media was designed to lure people in, to make them subconsciously rely on scrolling and comparing so that they keep coming back for more, even if it's damaging to mental health. Now that we've established the connection between mental health and social media, let's explore how they are engineered to become addictive and mentally damaging. Platforms like TikTok and Instagram are more popular than ever amongst our society. They are engineered using an algorithm that is tailored to the individual consuming the media. If someone is having issues with body dysmorphia, the algorithm will more than likely recommend content that promotes something with an edited figure or perfect filters. This may sound harmless, and one might say that it's easy to keep scrolling, but to a growing child, that is beyond dangerous to their mental health. In 2023, the state of Tennessee filed a lawsuit against Meta, the parent company behind Facebook and Instagram. Tennessee Attorney General Jonathan Scrimetti said in a statement that, quote, "Rather than take steps to reduce or disclose the harm, Meta leaned further into its profit-maximizing approach that hurt kids." The complaint alleged that Meta knew Instagram could have a harmful effect on young people, including increased levels of depression, anxiety, and other mental health problems. The lawsuit stands as an example of the need to hold tech companies accountable for their part in knowingly hurting our children's mental health. Platforms are now designed to promote content that triggers an emotional response, often fear, envy, or highlighting insecurities. Children do not have the mental maturity to self-regulate yet or be able to turn the screens off and snap back into reality. The algorithm can intentionally trap them in this continuous cycle of negativity, leading to our own youth suffering in silence. Moving on to our final topic, let's look at some ways we can support our youth and attempt to shift the undesirable direction in which social media is progressing. First, we need to support media literacy in schools with the acknowledgement that the next generation is growing up with the internet and social media. If they're going to be exposed to it sooner in life, then they should be taught how to question what they see online, how algorithms work, and be able to recognize unrealistic portrayals. This will set them up for success in the future and allow them to have the tools to combat the inevitable toxic comparative culture. Additionally, parents and trusted adults should provide a safe space for children to ask questions or confide in them if their mental health is declining. An article written by Claudia Santi F. Fernandez notes that, quote, in a study of over 130,000 students, those least susceptible to suicidal thoughts and bullying were those who reported having strong connections with not just their parents, but other trusted adults. We must realize that as role models for adolescents, they are counting on us to be there for them. From personal experience, I know it can be hard as a child to reach out to an adult for help. My parents have always given me a safe space to ask questions and talk about my feelings, and I can attest to how much of an impact that has had on me. Ultimately, our youth are not products of big tech that need to stay engaged, but rather the next generation that needs to be protected. As I conclude, let's review the key points I've made today. First, I talked about the mental health crisis among adolescents and the unfortunate role social media plays in that. Then I discussed how social media has been intentionally engineered to become an addictive, harmful place that many children and teenagers spend their time on. Finally, we explored some ways in which we can support our youth through education and providing safe spaces. By the end of the speech, I hope that my audience will agree with me that social media has a detrimental effect on the mental health of our youth. I encourage you all to create spaces for our youth in your life that encourage building deeper connections. The next generation deserves what social media cannot provide, a sense of safety and authentic belonging. Going forward, if you find yourself around a 16-year-old girl crying over Instagram or a 14-year-old boy upset from being cyberbullied, be there for them. Ask them if they're okay, if they need someone to talk to. Let's be responsible adults that comfort our children, not the ones that look away.